everywhere you go, you're going to take your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your associations, your past, your memories, your identification with form, your identification as this body. You're going to take your slavery and try to find freedom.
It's like
it's closed, right?
It's closed. It's like set. It's like limited. It's like only what you know.
Been in a book somewhere, right? I would have.
That's exactly right. Somebody would have told me.
Just the idea that hey, you can do that for yourself, and
right.
It's not going to interfere with your job or your wife or your family. Hello, my name is Richard Miller, and welcome to Never Not Here. This show is our way to take a fresh new look at the world, and maybe find out more about life than we've ever imagined. You know, as we've talked on this show many times, sometimes we find ourselves waiting for another moment, waiting for the next moment. And things are always rosier on the other side or later. And we're always thinking we can improve what's happening now. And in a way, that's an invitation to take our energy and our attention away from what's happening, what's real, what's really our life, and go into some thoughts about what's wrong with it or what could be better about it. And we're just wondering if that's the way to live life. You know, is that really the way? I mean, we're taught that we can always improve. So that's our investigation. And to help us today, we have our guest who was here a few days ago, and we had oceans of experience over this weekend between then and now. And so please help me welcome Miss Jeannie Zandi.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeannie. Here we are again.
Hi, Richard. More fun.
Right.
So you attended the retreat this weekend and got to see some of my work. And people sometimes comment. Someone commented this weekend about how they hadn't seen someone take both the divine and the sense of human limitation and address both together. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about a very sweet Sufi sheikh who I was reading one day. Ibn al-Arabi is his name. He's pre-Rumi. And one of the things that he said, and I don't know if this originated with him or if this is in the Quran or before, but one of the things he says is that the human being was created, a special creation of the wedding of earth and the divine. And that within the human being, the place where those two meet is the heart. So if you just, let that image kind of sit inside of you as I talk. So what he says is, you remember the story of Lucifer, Satan, who was an angel who refused to bow to the human being. And so God sent him out of heaven, right? So Ibn al-Arabi says the principle of Satan, the satanic principle, is to either refuse one's divinity or to refuse one's human limitation, as someone called it this weekend. In other words, here, when they come together, is a crucifixion or a stretching of between the two worlds, the holy and the human, to not either elevate oneself and only claim the divine and push the human away, or to only claim the human limitation and push the divine away. So one, you can feel in a person when someone has identified with only the divine, then they walk around, you can feel in your guts, there's kind of a slight feeling of wanting to kind of pull them to earth, or maybe like pinch their cheek or
like
something.
There's an emptiness there that somehow is, I don't know, it seems like, it's not that it's an escape, but I mean,
it can be an escape. This is where the Zen stick comes in. When the student says, "Oh, la la la, I see, I'm not, I don't exist, la la la," then the Zen master comes up and goes, whack, ow. Because there are two sides that are one. But if we try to get to oneness by pushing away one side, that's not true oneness. And that, according to Ibn al-Arabi, is actually satanic, which makes me chuckle.
So really it's that preference that kind of is the ringer. In other words,
fear.
you prefer one or the other.
You prefer it out of fear and out of a refusal of the actual... When we refuse to welcome anything, we hide out in one or the other of these places. It's a refusal of the whole feast that the holy is offering. It's a refusal to just say yes. And it's actually, there's a very sweet metaphor in there. The metaphor is lovemaking, that the earth, the earthly, the human must open like a woman to take in and be completely penetrated, for lack of a better word, by the divine. To do that, one must hold open the whole being, the whole heart, and any place where we're pushing that away out of pain. It's basically a curse of the feast. We're pushing that away. We're saying, no, no, God, you can't have me here. Is a place where we push away the beauty. What happens when the two come together? We are stretched completely open. We are, this is the feeling that some people were having this weekend of their hearts expanding, of the heart feeling heavy, breaking open. This is the tears that you see. In my work, there are often, there's a lot of emotion. Are we after the emotion? No, we're after what the emotion is, the no under the emotion, but we're not after the no, we're after the yes under the no, the yes of this full openness.
So is it the no that causes the emotion? I don't have like a scientific explanation for it. The experience is that this instrument here can pick up energetically a no. And what I notice because there's a lot of yes here in this being, as I invite someone, let's say like the man at the retreat who I was inviting him to take me completely into his heart, and I'm only an emissary of the holy. So I'm just a symbol of take the holy completely into your heart, which is also the same as take yourself completely into the heart. And so as openness and invitation touch the places of perceived separation, of no, the no will sometimes assert itself more strongly. No, it wants to be met. It wants presence to completely meet and touch it. And as that no dissolves, oftentimes emotion rises, usually the pain of having kept oneself apart from the holy for so long. Because a lot of times these places, people have held closed an entire lifetime. And so here comes the grief as they are reunited with their own self and their own heart, and they feel that both a grief and a joy of reunion. So it's both. It's like almost like the chemical byproduct of this divinity and no coming together. It's like, and here are tears, and here's, people get a lot of heat, as they allow the divine to be experienced in the body. Somehow I thought it was interesting to check the mystery of the no or the rejection or it's almost like our karmic identity, if you want to say karma, is our series of no's. What's no for me, or what,
absolutely.
When you say your curses, maybe you can explain that a little more.
Yeah, so here you are, open being, right? And somehow let's say that I am deluded. I believe that I am separate. I believe that I'm separate is the same as saying I believe that I'm bad. I'm not worthy to belong to the whole of creation. My daughter calls it feeling left out of the game. because she's little in her world. You play in a game where you feel left out of the game. Well, this is kind of a solidifying of feeling left out of the game. It's that something about you, and you don't even necessarily at this point think of yourself as a you or an I. Here you are just an expression, right? Expressing. And somewhere something says bad, don't do that. Curses what you are. Curses this unique expression. You're following the holy impulse here. You're expressing, any of us who have that experience, it's like, it is heaven. It is heaven to be unimpeded with the holy impulse moving through and then letting it bubble forth. It's heaven. And so when someone comes along, especially when you're small, and there isn't anyone giving you accurate information about reality, who says how this expression is wrong, is bad. That's the essence of a curse. A blessing is basically very simple. Here's the bubbling, and one just witnesses it. This is a blessing.
So the curses are all stored somewhere. So they're all there. They become haunting spooks, and then they can pop up at different times. They get
stored in the body-mind, yeah.
And then it feels like they come out too fast, or they come out all at once, and it says, "Oh my gosh, I'm being possessed," or what is all this dark forces down there that make me feel bad?
Yeah.
And it's like your storage bin or your treasure chest, basically, right?
Your little filing cabinet of no's. And then the no, it hurts. It's not just a neutral no. This is the source of hurt, is a lie, is the lie that anything in God's creation is bad. The lie hurts. And so the lie comes at you. You're bad, stop that. You're bad, you're killing me, etc. Oh, the being doesn't want to kill anyone, doesn't want to hurt anyone. Shuts that particular thing down. And it's stored in there. The no is wrapped around pain. And then we start to protect it with our lives. We start to protect our sense of goodness with our lives by conditionally starting to fabricate some kind of
So we adjust our lives and we just go, we avoid this and we
exactly.
avoid that.
And this is conditioning, conditional, the conditional. The unconditioned is this. Anything that is delivered to me from the holy is expressed unconditionally. No matter whether you like me or not, and this is what you see.
That's freedom. That's really freedom.
It is. And this is what you see.
So then your life just goes, because, you don't have to zig and zag, because there's nothing to avoid and nothing to approach.
And it's not even your life. It's not even your life. It's just the bubbling of the holy through this particular flute, this particular cell of the body of the holy. It's not even your life. It's just right here. The holy bubbles. It loves to bubble.
Yes, of course, we've all witnessed a lot this weekend, and we witnessed people that were hurting, but in the end they were laughing. So now, is it really pain, or is it like the belief that it's going to be pain? It seems to hurt.
Well, here's the thing. What's been experienced here is that there is really no difference between sobbing and laughing your head off. Energetically and kind of in the body's moving the same way. There's a little bit of a difference in terms of what happens, but the body's being shaken open.
Basically, it's an overflow, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's just welling up and I can't contain it anymore. It's got to pop out, right?
Yes, and if you watch a young child, before they get any messages about this, a baby doesn't pop out going, I prefer to laugh or cry. It's just the response to whatever's happening in the moment. It's like the energetic kind of digestion of life is this laughter or this sobbing. It's like it's just an energetic digestion. Then we get the message, this is bad. And what actually hurts is not the crying, that byproduct. What actually hurts is the lie, and the lie that we keep telling ourselves, that somehow this is a sign that we're weak, that we're bad, that we're other. This is the reason. The reason that I'm cast out is this pain in my expression of it. This is a sign that I'm a stinker. The pain itself is not inherently bad. And if you experience pain in a very pure way, there is a sweet meeting of divinity, of presence and sensation in pain. There's not actually anything inherently bad about that particular response of the body.
So many people have talked about a distinction between pain and suffering. As pain is something that hurts the body, and it's a sign that you should stop doing something probably, or attend to something. And suffering is kind of the rejection of pain or perceived pain, and so when you reject it really hard, it's a kind of a psychological pain.
Absolutely, and you can watch people with this. They have a someone will have a very simple pain in them, maybe a grief. And on top of that is layered all this shame, all this complexity, all this I can't show this to you, and all this stuff that then is pointed inward to give the being a hard time for its isness. So if I'm simply grief-stricken, if I simply ran into the corner of the door and hit my head, and it hurts, the very simple, stripped of anything experience of that is simply wah, 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 okay, what's next? And actually, there is just a deliciousness of returning home to the body in that way. It's like the tears return you to this kind of resting state, or this homeostasis before the whack happened, right? But if I run into the door and the pain happens, and then I say, God, I'm a stupid idiot. I've always been a stupid idiot. And then I start replaying all the experiences of all the things I've labeled failure. And then I start basically cursing myself. This is suffering.
You know what? Just by your saying this story and about talking about somebody that has a certain condition or pain, and then they've got all these overlays, and I start thinking, my gosh, the overlays are just horrendous. I mean, they're just such a tapestry of all kinds of...
It's amazing.
But the thing about it is that I think you showed us this weekend that you don't have to unweave that whole tapestry, because you just look at a couple of curses and all of a sudden you're willing to throw the whole tapestry out.
Indeed. We don't set about the weekend. You'll notice we didn't say on Friday night, okay, let's pull out your tapestry and tell me all your pains and all your stories. What we do is we sit in this delicious presence. We just sit in it. We invite it. You notice in the meditations that I do, it's like inviting presence, inviting the reality of us to join in one body, to see as one body of presence what wants to visit us today. It could be a joy. Somebody, for example, a woman comes up and says, wow, I just feel like I'm too big. And we say, come on out, because I'm too big is a code word for this beauty that I am. There's some little curse sitting on top of it. So you can feel the beauty welling up and you say, yes. And the room fills with her beauty. Sure, there are tears as it births itself into the room, but it's all about the beauty. It's all about the beauty. And so we don't go searching for pains to process. What we do is simply say, here we are together, one body, in the name of the holy, gathering together to celebrate ourselves. Let's celebrate, and let's see what visitors want to come to visit this feast that we are. And as we lay out the feast, then all like I was talking about this weekend, then all the beggars and all the orphans come, because we're calling to them. We're saying everything is welcome here. All of creation is welcome here, because the holy doesn't have a problem with any one of its children, any one of its creations. It is simply unfolded, saying yes to all, saying yes to everything. The homicide, the tender act of mercy, all held like this, in this. And so this is what we do when we come together. We are the welcome. We are the feast. We are the well-lit inn at the side of the dark road. And then to that come all the ones who have forgotten that they're love. They are love. They have forgotten, and they're folded in on themselves, whacking themselves in the face. They hear this call, come, come, come. This come is the antidote to the curse. It's the welcome to the unwelcome. And they come, and when they come, they say, they tell their story, but not their woe, long story of woe, every detail about my past, but their story of looking into presence and saying, It hurts to feel separate. It hurts to think that I'm something cursed. It hurts to be deluded. And in that, is the return home, because the is the heart calling to itself. And so it's so beautiful that as these come home, you can feel the presence just building and building and building as all of these are.
So a few come home, and then the processing is just a side effect. I mean, just by being welcomed.
If you mean the processing
the emotion.
Means
like the emotion, but I mean the fact that somehow they're just accepted, and then they're just transparent, you know. They get out of the treasure chest, you know.
Yeah.
And then
they dissolve. They join presence. They join,
dissolve. You know, they're just join.
Yeah. And so this is what we do here. So I am a well-lit inn. Everything that rises in me that is not love is simply visiting my well-lit inn. Then as we sit together, you a well-lit inn, welcoming everything within you, welcoming everything within me. You can be the inn for me. As you're the inn for me, you're also the inn for you. There's only one inn, and there's only one beggar. And this is the beauty of creation. This is like sometimes people say, why is there so much pain? Why is there all this? Why? Like, I don't deal in whys. I just notice how. And what I notice is like the prodigal son, that moment of the innkeeper enfolding the beggar in her embrace. That moment of reunion, so tenderly beautiful. So there's such joy there. To just die there, that's like the entire dance. This isn't about, we don't have to think about results or product or where we're going or even peace on earth or whatever. When you are here, and you are here as presence, and you are here as love, there is only one thing to do. There is only one thing that wants to be done. Love loves to love, and love loves to look up and say, come home, sweetheart. The end. I don't need to know anything about the result of that. That's the beauty in itself. That's the whole point of the pointlessness.
It's kind of like a melting of distinctions. In other words, it's the distinctions that hold all these things out, because this one is distinct from that one. This one is worse. This one's better.
Exactly.
This is preferred.
That's
this
all the
one
mind.
I want to. And so all these distinctions, in order to just welcome everybody in, it's really not a doing. It's just kind of a melting.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems.
Exactly. It's effortless. It's like a song. It's like a celebration. It's like, what else would we want to do? As love, what else would we want to do?
So each person in the group, just at their own time, just somehow opens a door and lets themselves in.
Exactly.
When they're ready.
Exactly. And then they think I did something.
And we just are all there, just rooting for everybody and just saying, come on in, for sure.
Yeah,
God,
exactly.
we missed you so long.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly. It's like one big Thanksgiving at home. But the true Thanksgiving, where, Mama's cooking in the kitchen, Papa's doing whatever he's doing. Maybe Papa's cooking in the kitchen and Mama's doing whatever she's doing, for anybody out there who has a problem with that. Or maybe Papa's in the kitchen and Papa's doing whatever he's doing. You know what I'm saying?
We're setting the table and putting the decorations,
Yeah, the beauty is, yes, we're setting, and
shining the silver, and saying, this is how I'm going to do the tea.
And they come to the door and we say, welcome to the feast. Welcome. Welcome, 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 with a no end. I was saying to somebody that I wouldn't care if someone came in and they had 6 heads. If they did, they sat down with their 6 heads, I'd ask each head, how's it going?
Yeah.
Like there's no...
You prepare 6 plates of food, right?
There's no distinction. There's no value on whether a being comes to share a joy or a pain. It's beautiful. It's all this singing. It's all this holy bubbling. Welcome.
So, golly, there's just nothing to do, really. I mean, it's just to be welcomed or to accept, because you got to learn to accept a gift, too. You learn to give a gift, you learn to accept a gift. And so then you learn to welcome, learn or get habituated, and you have to get habituated in a way to
it's
to accept a welcome.
Yeah, it's risking humiliation. It's the one that's saying no, and the one that says come, and the
So
one
is it just
that
we
says
don't trust
no.
that welcome? If we're holding back, we just say, no, this welcome's not, it's
I
going to
wouldn't even
ricochet.
say we are doing anything. I would say, because my experience of this is that this is a shell. This is a shell. And these ones that rise are simply apparently rising in the shell. But they can rise as a shell, some rude person in traffic, let's say, or they can rise within the shell of the body. There's a whole busload of beings without bodies. This shell of a body is irrelevant. Basically, the form is so transparent, the energies that come. So I wouldn't even say so-and-so is mistrustful. I would say here in the space, mistrust has risen. Mistrust can rise in that body. It can rise wherever it is. It's not you being mistrustful. It's the flavor of mistrust has joined us.
And let's welcome it, right? What else?
Exactly. Exactly. And so if someone, it's not you are mistrustful and the point of this whole thing is for you to trust so that blah, blah. No, it's like
And you
I
gotta do
open the
it.
door and who's at the door? But sweetheart in the form of mistrust. Hi. Hi. Come in. No, you want to stay at the threshold. Well, sweetheart, you can stay at the threshold
We'll
all
bring
you
tea
want.
out. We'll bring a
Here's
cushion.
the
You can sit
feast.
there.
Here's the feast, and I'm going to keep saying hello to you. And these ones do want to join the feast, and they don't, because they are frightened, because they have the curse has to be dissolved in presence, and so they can stay at the threshold as long as they like. Here's the feast. We keep saying, hi, sweetheart. Yes, if you want to keep the door open. Oh, you just want to sit on the couch near the door in case you want to bolt? Sure. Here's the feast. No hurry. We have eternity. Complete welcome and invitation, and no hurry, no requirement, not to get anywhere, not to do anything, not to make anybody a better person, blah, 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 but just simply because the joy of the holy is to invite and love. It already knows that sweetheart at the door is completely in its heart. Where do we go? There's nowhere to go. There's just a celebration.
What about sickness, Because sickness is welcome too, right? It's got to be welcome. I got a cancer. Come on in. Because what else is there to do? But, the preference is there. It's so built in that we're so trained, oh my gosh, avoid cancer.
Yeah. So again, any of these things, we have to strip all of this is part of the welcoming, is the stripping of all that's been attached and glommed onto a simplicity. So the simplicity of a cancer, in other words, science tells me that I have certain cells doing this thing here. We can also add, science told me I have 3 weeks to live, or whatever is given. But to strip it down to the basic actuality of it and to meet it, we'll find that there's no difference anywhere. That the horror and the freak comes from the suffering, comes from all of the values and thoughts and everything that have been laid on it. Death is bad, cancer is bad, etc., etc. The actuality of this is just the actuality of this. Once I almost bled to death. As I was bleeding to death, there actually wasn't a problem. In fact, I had to kind of realize that, there might be a reason to stay on the planet to do something about it, because it was so utterly sweet. And so who is to say that X or Y is bad? And this is what we do. We buffer our experience through these thick layers of conclusions and junk that we've been fed and that we've concluded through being told or pain. We actually aren't experiencing actuality often. We're experiencing life filtered through concepts, and we're much, much more experiencing our concepts than we are the actual experience of cancer, the actual experience of grief. This is actually what we come home to. We come home to the pure and open experience of actuality, silence, and presence and sensation. and simplicity.
That's what we talk a lot about on the show, because that seems to be like a beginning stage to when you're really saying consciousness, and people say, well, what the heck is that? What are you talking about? And then we try to explain about experiencing life through concepts. And that how that somehow is different than just experiencing life. And then
But people see, the trick is that we've been so conditioned with concepts from so early that many of us do not, that's reality. We experience our mind reality, our conceptual reality, this limited framework we've built mentally. We actually experience that as reality. That's why we say, what
that's
are you
all we
talking
got, right?
about?
Yeah.
And so this is the value and the sweetness of some of the pointing to the simplicity of consciousness. And just right now, it's like, let's put your body here. Let's put your history here. Let's put your future here. Let's put your opinions here, your beliefs, all your thoughts, all of that. Let's just put all that in my hand. And the people who are watching can do this right now. What's left when you give me all that? What's left when, for example, your brain is wiped out from amnesia, or your brain is wiped out from
I just wanted to
or
ask you
something?
about Alzheimer's and so on. What happens when you go into dementia? I mean, apparently you can still know who you are,
Well,
and it can be welcomed.
You can know who you are on the level of this basic thing that we have in common with dogs and cats. And, this right now that looks out, what is looking out below the thoughts? What notices? This attention, this magical quality of alive awareness, empty of content. And as we pay attention to it, another way we can do it is by looking inside and trying to find Richard. And I'll look inside and I'll try to find Jeannie. And we'll look inside, we'll say, where's Jeannie? And what do we see in there? A few thoughts. Here's a body, a couple thoughts, and then just this space. I can't find in here someone. And as we look back at this thing that's looking, and we try to find an object or some source of it, what do we find? The mind finds nothing, and yet a glowing starts to happen. Because we're paying attention to attention. We're turning back on the source of this, this is the beauty of the mystery. It's a puppy chasing its tail, but a puppy who could never even touch its tail. And it starts to pervade till we walk through life wedded with that, like inside, turned around in a complete embrace.
It starts to pervade, you
that.
said. It starts to pervade.
Yeah.
Because, at first it seems like, God, it's not even interesting,
That's
to the mind,
mind.
it's not so
That's
interesting,
the mind.
right?
That's the mind, yeah.
And so then, you can just turn in and there's nothing to find, all right? And then you can feel life energy in your limbs and in your body.
And this is what's so useful about...
and then you start to think,
Yeah.
And then,
and then you're like, I'm out of here. This is
You're
boring.
in and out, not even without a judgment. You might even say, no, I always want to be in that space. But in the meantime, a couple hours go by and you never even consider that space again. You're just...
We're very, very, very hypnotized and very addicted to our activity-filled, thought-filled, stimulation-filled lives that we have forgotten. This is why we need so much stimulation. When I have the occasion to watch TV, which I don't very often, this instrument is just kind of shocked by the level to which television has to become louder and faster and more violence just so that we can feel something, because part of conditioning is we have to numb out to actuality to keep our concept. We have to numb out to the things that are constantly calling.
So to get through that numbness, then they have to have a hammer.
No hammer needed.
No, that's the television.
Yes, the television.
No, because I was watching television on the plane coming out here, and I was thinking of our show, and okay, so you talk, and the camera's on you, and I talk, and the camera's on me. But I started to count, and they're flashing like twice or three times a second with another shot.
Yeah.
And how fast they shoot it. And if they got the same shot, they'll turn it to black and white nowadays, and then turn it back. And then they'll zoom in on a little part of it, and then they'll zoom out,
Then you can feel
and you
the
get something
pace,
else in there.
the
And then there's a
pace that
still
we're
photo
at.
going, whoop,
Yeah.
and then it's like boom, boom, boom,
This
boom.
is the pace of the mental.
I think it's like 3,000 cuts a half an hour show,
Yeah.
And
The
it just
pace
drives
of
me
fear.
insane.
The pace of fear. The pace of fear.
Yeah.
Run to the job, run home, do this, do that. Anything.
So I'm afraid,
to
like, nobody's going to
outrun.
watch Never Not Here, There's no cuts, What am I going to do? To chop it up and whip it around a little bit. But I mean, it's a different...
the people who will watch this, the people who want this, the people who come and sit in a room where apparently nothing's happening together, sitting in presence. As I was saying to the woman who was sitting up with me, and I said, we were gazing a long time. She just came up and she just wanted to be. She just wanted to sit in that. And I said, here we are. We're like two old men playing chess, except there's no chessboard and there's no chess pieces. Or we're like two women at a kitchen table shucking peas and talking, except there's no
We
peas,
ran out of
there's no
peas.
table, and there's no words. This that's always happening, this being that's always happening, there are people who are dying for this. And actually everyone's dying for this, because this is the only thing that truly nourishes. And this is what is helpful about sitting with beings who are resting in this, who have their eyes looking straight into the beauty of now, is that our bodies remember. Our bodies remember being. And it's like having training wheels. You go and you be with somebody who is speaking from and living from and sitting from being. It draws your body into that resonance, and you get a glimpse, and you get a glimpse of the possibility of what it could be to drop everything and live from presence. And that's where it's like a way to come to the feast when you still haven't realized that you're actually the feast.
You actually are the feast.
You actually
right?
are the feast, yeah.
In other words, I was thinking like, you can lead a horse to water and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if you push something too far, or somehow you trick someone into going too far, which means like really being in the feast, For me, I always thought that was too far. And so then, somehow then there's this jump back, right? I mean, it's natural that anytime something you offer this what I would call like a new model of reality. This is real because, I mean, I come to Boulder and Denver, and I don't know anyone. And like in the end, we're all like brothers and sisters, or even closer. We're closer than our own skin,
Yeah.
We're just...
And this is reality. We don't even have to spend any time together. If we're looking out of the eyes of presence, this is my experience. It's like, hello, sweetheart. Like, you look around the world from presence, and there's your family. There's your whole family. There's all your sweeties. I don't even have to know their names. I look in their eyes, and there's myself, my sweetheart.
Yeah, so you don't learn we don't learn how to be love or anything like that. I mean, you just realize that that's what it is. That is it,
We just remember.
Yeah, we remember, huh? Yeah. So we realize that, and then...
And then, look at that word, remember. We remember, we're a member.
We're a member.
We rememberize ourselves.
We put ourselves back together, right?
Yeah.
So... And then, I don't know, we take it and make it a place in our mind, or what do we do? I don't know. We go away and say, I've got to go to another one of these seminars because now I hate this job even more, or whatever.
Well, this is the point of these. It's not to create a bunch of junkies who like to sit in the bliss, although some people...
We make ourselves into junkies anyhow.
Well, some people will be content. With that. Will just stop there because they aren't ready to be completely decimated in love. But the message that's happening and the tools available, this is a death house. This is an invitation to completely leave behind living from the mind and swan dive into living from the heart. And
we got to say that in a real clear way, because people are going to think that we just mean, chuck all your logic and your reasoning,
Yes, exactly. That's exactly
what it's there, it's there whenever you want to pick it up. But I mean, also something much more profound is there. It's just like
But why would you
beauty.
Why would you want to pick it up?
No, but I mean, I'm just saying it's there, because it's your choice. Why would you want to pick it up? That's what you'll get to answer yourself.
Well, this is where the atheist will rise up in all its full glory and armor. When we start to invite people into completely surrendering to mindlessness. This is all the ones
those are all really tricky words, like surrendering is a tricky word and mindlessness is a tricky word. But I mean, maybe there's another way to say it that just is
so
inviting,
right now, I'll show you
Let's
now.
sucker them in a little bit,
I don't want to sucker anybody in. Nobody needs to be suckered in.
Right?
No one ever needs to come to a single meeting like this, ever. In fact, if you don't want to come, don't. That's how welcome you are.
Don't touch that dial now. Check this out.
There is no salesmanship needed. The heart is a beautiful, powerful, love is the deepest transformational force on earth. Some will be drawn to its bosom. Some will run away screaming. That is all as it needs to be. So there's no, we don't need to get anyone to, nothing. This is an offering. This is a feast with an open door. And there's no advertisement outside. And there's nothing. There's no ads blaring from the rooftop. There's a feast glowing. And the glow, for some people, they've been searching for the glow their whole lives. And they come through the door and they say, their whole body resonates with yes, even if they're terrified, even if they look in my face, like that one man said, you freak me out, I think you have wings, It's like, and yet he didn't leave. We are both terrified and fascinated because we feel in our hearts that this is what we've been longing for our entire lives, to know a love that has no condition and to see that it's ourselves. We know this exists. We try all the strategies don't work, we get tired, or we win everything of a worldly nature, and still there's that gnawing. Here's the feast. You want to come.
Let's talk a little bit about junkies, because I think that's just a stage, and you said some people will be content with just getting, but I think that's just a misunderstanding, because the way I see it, I said the first stage is when people say, I don't even know what it is, explain it to me, and somehow if you can explain it in a way that's not cliquish or clubbish or that has full of jargon, your average person can probably get it because it's got a lot of logic to it.
Well,
also,
it's really simple. I mean, the average person, which is all of us, hears the word love and has a sense of love. They have a sense of what it feels like to belong, to feel at ease, to express oneself without limitation, or they have a sense of it from its absence. They hear the description of love and they go, ah.
That's harder, because it's hard to know something that isn't there, You only know it by what surrounds it. Like look in astronomy at a black hole. They can't see it, but you can see things bending around it, and that's how they intuit that there's a certain mass there, and it's got to be a black hole.
Well, you know that love exists from lack of love. You hope that it exists. You can experience its opposite within it. So in my not belonging, I have a sense of what belonging might be like. It might be the end of not belonging, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So everybody knows this. It's human. It's nothing special. It's the humanest of humanness to feel loved, to feel good, to feel happy, to feel relaxed, to feel like you are a blessing and not a curse. This is like the simplest thing on earth. And the mind doesn't have to understand jack. If with this resonance and, people who are listening here, like forget my words and just feel the sound of them, feel where I'm coming from. The body can feel innocence. It can feel yum. It can feel heart. And it's drawn. Some people say, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even know, this doesn't even make sense to me. I don't even know why I'm here. And yet I had to come, the necessity of the heart. This isn't what's leading our lives. This isn't the only show,
This is the one we see.
This is the magnet.
Somebody used to say that we're all driving around, steering our lives with a rear view mirror.
Funny. That's funny image.
Because that's like our conception of past events and our judgment of that.
Yeah. After a while, we realize if we're very lucky that the mind is a really crappy, what's the thing called in the ship where you, like a compass.
Compass.
It's a crappy compass. It's not a compass. It wasn't ever meant to be a compass. Here's the compass.
Right. So then the second stage of the way, what came to me was...
And I'm just going to say that
Yeah.
I don't identify with the stage thing, but it's...
Yeah, but it just means like people have heard the message and they say, oh, okay, sounds neat. How do I get an experience of it? I want to experience it. And that's where people get hooked for years and years and years, going from one experience to another, or they got a high one, and then they went down, and they're trying to regain that high one, and then that's what I would call the junkie stage, which can last forever.
Absolutely. And that's that's what one looks for in a guide, is that it's someone who's actually handing you yourself back, handing you yourself back. And there are some people who, in this lifetime, will be content to have a kind of a deadness and then go and get a little bit
They're not really content, It's just that's all they know. They just think, I don't think that's a contentment.
It's not a true contentment.
No.
But what I'm saying
contentment.
is that there are different levels of raw hunger in people. You will see people show up at these meetings who are like, I must have this or I'll die. And then you see somebody else whose life is going pretty well. All their holes are kind of being filled. They're not hungry yet. They're just like, this is amusing. It kind of feels good.
At plastering
And then
up
there's
the
the person who's just pressing their face against the glass saying, this is the only thing left that I'm living for. And this is what actually lives at the bottom of all of our hearts, underneath the numbing and the whatever, is the sense of separation is something that, it's not a mild thing. It's like we know at the very bottom of our core, we know what's possible. But many of us have forgotten, given up. We've stopped believing in magic. This is the heart of magic. Love is the heart of magic. It's amazing. It's amazing to go from suffering to joy in 5 minutes.
Let me say something about a fear that came to me, once, because I was with some teachers, and I happened to be with this one guy, and his wife or his partner was there, and then she started to talk and saying about how their life was together, and the fact that it's just they don't even know if they're together or not. I mean, it's got to be alive. Number one, it's got to be live and fresh, and I thought, oh my God, I couldn't be with these people because I'm not alive and fresh all the time. I guess I just started to feel like inadequate to be alive and fresh, and kind of thankful that my wife and me are dead here and there. Every once in a while we got some dead spots and we could just say, well. But that was kind of scary when I thought of that. And here these guys have been together for years, and we always thought that, they're just so tight, and they just say, anything can happen. It gets rocky, it goes this way.
Well, what you become tight with is God. And then the rest of everything can come and go.
So it's not even important. The whole idea of a relationship and stability and stuff is just one more concept.
Pretty much, yeah.
One more preference. One more belief. What's right and what's sound and sane.
And it does seem, because immediately the mind thinks it's the only thing that creates order. And without the mind, there would just be like this awful chaos, People would never want to be together, etc. There is a living from the mind created reality where we are straining against reality to keep things cemented and in place so we can feel like we're safe inside of this, straining against forces that threaten to blow the whole thing up, okay? And then there's just letting the whole thing blow up. The concepts blow up, the whole thing, and then you are actually floating on the wild river of things as they are. And the wild river of things as they are actually has a beautiful order to it. And that beautiful order is your joy, because you are no longer straining and pushing, to try to make things look the way your mind wants them to make so that you can be happy. Instead, you have given up to the river. It moves you where it wants to move you. Happiness just is. And there's a beauty to that order because it is an order born of who and what you actually are instead of what your mind thinks you must be in order to be safe. It's tremendous relaxation. It's falling back into effortlessness. Sure, things reorient at that point when you let go of all your lies and the order that you've created through effort. You let go of all that. Some things, anything that's false in your life becomes reordered. And yet the reorder lands you in such a deep sense of belonging because you're actually living from your deepest isness rather than a bunch of concepts about how you're supposed to be.
Somebody once told me that, the more you hang on to the past and the more you fixate on the past, the more you're able to fix the future, Sounds very boring, but I mean, you can assure yourself that this, the past can continue into the future. And so then letting go of the past is also letting go of a hypothetical future. And then,
well, the past and the future don't exist.
In the river.
They actually don't exist. And so it's only letting go of the concept of past and future because there is no such thing as past and future. We are inventing those with our minds.
And
so
we talked about that on the show before. Basically it's just retracting from life. In other words, the past and the future is just a way to get out of life a little bit and just to kind of take a rest. Yeah.
This ordinary, everyday mental neurotic mind is all it is a defense against now. And it is the father or the mother of the past and the future.
Say that again, like that. The mind is a defense against now. The personality is like a strategy to get away from the now or to control.
Yeah, to get away from things as they are.
To resist.
As you drop deeper and deeper and deeper into the surrender of things as they are, the mind in that old way is absolutely not needed. We think the mind is keeping everything together and ensuring our survival. It's not. We're much more vulnerable living from the mind than we are living from actuality. We miss huge clues about what's really going on when we're living from the mind.
Yeah, it's like driving and looking in the rearview mirror.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. And I hope you keep some of these silences in your program, even though they're not...
I'm doing it more and more, I remember in the first show that I started just getting baffled, and I got thrown for a loop, and and it was actually in a studio show, and so then I guess they were freaking out in the control room, and they had the cameramen were going like this, talk. This is television, you gotta talk. And
yeah. Actually, last night we were looking at something on YouTube of this yogi. I don't remember his name. And there's just this long period where he's just sitting there. He's like so deeply in samadhi, and he's just there. And we're just fixated on it. And actually, what's amazing about this medium of television is that, totally the experience of there was a total registering of this being in the heart.
It transmits, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to we want to just
not
give
this
information. We want to give a feeling or something that you could call it a change in consciousness, but I mean that's very presumptuous to me. I think but when you turn on we want it so when you turn on the station, and when you turn it off, like you're in a different place than when you turned it on. And why not? I don't know, I think I had a whole bunch of good questions, but they're kind of dissolving.
Great.
Good observations, But
good ones.
Yeah.
So just stay right here. Let them all go. Let them all just fly away like birds, and here we are.
Yeah.
And here are the viewers. Here we all are, sitting on our butts, going nowhere. What's better than that?
It was just, I wanted to make a comment about resistance, because sometimes we think we have to go in to figure it out, what is this resistance and how come but the resistance is just like the root of the mind. And
is there resistance now?
So I'm resisting now, see, because my mind is working to try to explain this. And so somehow I'm resisting the end of the show, and I'm resisting this silence, and that's what resistance is. Mental activity.
Yeah, it's like we drop for a moment into here, and something in us goes, and then we pick up this again to distract ourselves.
Yeah, we might just say, oh, it's so cool, let me put that in storage.
Yeah.
This is a good one, and I collect it,
Yeah, some kind of running or grabbing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then it's just like, there should be no problem to say goodbye either, because, it's really hard to say goodbye after one of your seminars,
Well,
but that's just another resistance, right?
Not necessarily. There's oftentimes I would think with my little daughter, wow, if I followed her every whim, and if we all of a sudden started following the children's whims, it'd be the end of civilization as we know it. Because who needs to get to school on time? These flowers at the side of the road are so utterly fascinating, So there is a different rhythm and a different value, if you want to call it that, to this. Presence doesn't give a whit about an end. And through this dropping in here, there's such a sweet abiding in eternity, so that we actually feel the reality of the holy, where the holy never turns its face away. It's like we inside, even though our bodies may get up, go visit the bathroom, go get some food. You have an airplane, it calls you, you get on it. Maybe you don't get on it. Maybe we sit here for another 5 hours. If we didn't relate to this and just to the impulses that rise, it reorders everything. Because there is no inherent, once eternal being is looking at eternal being, it's like the only thing that takes us away is some impulse somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? And so the difficulty of saying goodbye is both that it's just so yummy to be together in this, but also because oftentimes our goodbyes are mentally imposed. Oh, have you ever been having a really good time? You're outside in the morning, and you go, oh, I better get back to my familiar mind thing. And it'll happen here
in
too.
In a way, I want to keep going and going, because goodbyes are really neat, because when the energy just parts, and pops like this, that's a real peak of experience. When you come together, like when I come to see you after I haven't seen you for months and months and months, it's just an explosion. When you go apart, pop, there's a pop there or some kind of a thing, and it just takes you, and it's just really exciting. I'd like to talk about the river too, because I just love sliding down a river, because if you do rafting or any kind of a lot of river work, you just realize it's just a slide of fun forever, and it's just this God slide that no man can make such a long slide.
We're just afraid that the river doesn't exist, that we don't belong to it, or that it's going to take us somewhere horrible. That's all. Otherwise, if we knew,
waterfall, right?
If we actually knew what it is that we're fighting,
Let's say a couple of words about how to see you, because you have a lot of, you really work hard. You do a lot of retreats and a lot of appearances. Mm-hmm. So then, there's what are your different formats? We only got a couple of minutes.
It's always changing, but I can tell you what I remember of what's happened so far. So I do public events. People will invite me to, like I'm coming to Chicago.
Right.
And someone will hear highly of me, find my website, be curious, hear something that resonates, invite me, and then we'll usually do 1 or 2 public evenings for people to take a taste of what this is. Those are usually very, they are like this, like a...
Answer questions, anybody's questions, everybody's questions.
There's an experience of this energy, there's an experience of, hearing and feeling in the room, and, I'll go as deep as anybody ever wants to go. So, but generally, if we're together for 2-3 hours,
it only goes that so far,
it goes,
right?
and there are exceptions.
So then there's the weekend like we did.
There's a weekend like we did. Now in Chicago, I'll probably do 2 one day,
Oh, rats.
events where
Maybe I could talk you into tying it together.
And there'll be like 2 one-day events, so that, especially in a new place, so that
Yeah, of
people
course.
can do it for a day and see what it's like. Then I do longer events like the weekend that you did, a Friday night, all day Saturday, Sunday. The longest event I've done so far is 5 days. I did 5 days in Mexico.
Oh,
and
boy.
we'll probably have another one of those a little bit longer this next year in March.
Uh-huh.
And go maybe Mexico
Fantastic.
again, somewhere.
So it's real simple, just JeannieZandi.com.
Yeah, which is tricky to spell.
Jeannie.
Jeannie. Yeah.
Zandi.
Zandi, yeah, .com.
It's flashed right here anyhow. We've got it up.
Flash.
Yeah. Whoa, I'll tell you. We're really stretching it to the end here. But
there's so much more to say.
Oh my God,
It's a
kidding.
never-ending celebration of words from the infinite,
Right. This is fabulous, Jeannie. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Richard.
This is
Been
some of
very
our, really shining never not hears. And I hope they get around and really move. They're all on the web now, You can see them on either video.google.com, or you can see them on another site called Vidler. Someday we might even have our website. Who knows, I mean, if I ever stop filming these things and editing these things, I guess I might have a time to put up a web page or two. Anyhow, thanks for the invitation to Colorado, and thanks for being in my life. Thanks for gracing our television show and talking to our beautiful viewers.
Hello, beautiful viewers.
And so come again. We'll be around. And we've got about 3 broadcast areas in the Chicago area now. And so tell your friends. We're going to be in Chicago. We're up north and we're out west.
Your beloved calls you here today to ask you for this dance. What will you say?